if people can do things cheaper, they'll do it, and they don't worry too much about the quality. The big problem for creators is obviously who owns the intellectual property rights and how you're going to get paid. It's all very well me going online going, oh, knock me up a song in a certain style, and it comes
Mm.
up with a variety of options, and we just pick something. But you or
Yes.
I mean, I'm a musician, but you could do it. Anybody walking off the street could ask the same question. So
Yes.
what we're looking at is a general degradation of the quality potentially of music, and less money to go towards people's creativity and careers, really.
Right. Is there anything to be said for the idea of tasking a robot, like an AI program, to put out a piece of music?
I think people, if they can create music more easily and cheaper, then they will do it. Unfortunately, at the moment, the technology is not very exciting. I've played about with it a little bit myself. It's a bit rubbish, frankly.
Mm.
But there are a lot of kind of generic sounding pop songs that you could probably task the AI programs to create stuff that sounds kind of similar.
Yeah.
Really, we want to reward creativity, don't we? We want to record. We want to reward people making stuff from an original viewpoint. If we're not careful, we're going to end up with a totally homogenized kind of creative landscape.
Yes. I mean, is it too cynical to say that there is quite a lot of music out there, pop music I'm thinking of in particular, which is so formulaic and which can still get people up on a dance floor dancing about, but which might as well have been produced by a robot?
We sound like a couple of miserable old buggers, don't we? Really, but they, and I mean, I often argue this point that there's too. It's way too generic at the moment. And I think we need more unique elements to the creative landscape, not more homogenization. And yes, I mean, basically, if anybody buys a laptop, if you buy an Apple laptop, for instance, it comes ready equipped with a thing called GarageBand. You can just
Mm.
drag and drop some elements and create something that's perfectly passable. I remember my
Yes.
son doing it when he was 10 years old in the Scouts. He said, I want a creativity badge. I'm going to make a dance record. And he did it in half an hour.
Yes. And was it decent? Like, would it have
Well,
got them jiving at a
it was,
party?
yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's just beats and a bass line and do you know, but anyway, we're in a world of multiple choice where non-musicians are enabled and encouraged to be creative, which is a good thing. But whether we want that from a professional point of view, I mean, I do a lot of teaching of MA level students, and it fills me full of horror that I could set them a task and they end up, farming it out to some AI bot, and
Yes.
they offer it up as homework. It's not really the point, is it?
Yeah, I can see from the point of view of an advocate of human creativity, and who wouldn't want to support and
Yeah.
advocate human creativity. You're worried about the idea of robot produced music, but when you look at the field, I mean, how much music, Martyn, is really truly original?
Well, that's a really big question, isn't it? I suppose you could argue that right from the days of Mozart and before, um, their influences were very clearly signposted, and so everybody goes genius, complete original. I don't think there's such a thing as total originality. There are just kind of modifications that make things a little bit more interesting, or give a new spin on it, or from a
Yeah.
different period of the past, or whatever. And one thing I would say positively about AI, I think if there was, when I'm writing music, if there was an AI kind of butler running in the background on my computer, suggesting things that I might want to consider from my
Yes.
past work, for instance. Well, I've had 40 years in the business. I'd find that interesting and useful, and it would probably speed up my workflow. So there are some useful applications of it. But I think just going, oh, write me a song about love, 120 beats per minute in the key of C major. I'm sorry, it just doesn't excite me at all.
No, well, I can quite see that now, but you can't help wondering if in however long, maybe years, maybe who knows, weeks, the way things go on, AI advances so quickly that you can imagine a program produces something which sounds completely original, which sounds beautiful, which passes for genius.
Pass for genius. I think that's maybe strong. Definitely within years, it will be that good. It's a bit like the analogies, the whole deep fake thing that they're using in Hollywood now. Where I was listening to Tom Hanks talking in an interview the other day, and he was saying he's pitched for a series of 7 films that will feature him as a deep fake replica for when he dies,
Really, oh, that's
as a kind of
interesting.
legacy thing.
Yes,
So that's
yes,
where we're
yeah.
at. And if they can do that, they can definitely create pop music that sounds like anything you want, really. Not
Mm.
quite at the moment, but it's coming down the road, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, just give me an example of I don't know, a couple of musicians, songwriters who you would put in the category of a quality that could not be matched by artificial
Well, that's a
intelligence. Say something
very.
encouraging on that.
Uh, oh, good Lord. The thing is, if it's already out in the public domain, let's
Yeah,
talk about something that's highly original, like at the time was something like Bohemian Rhapsody.
yes,
So imagine some point in the future, something similar to that. Somebody says, I want a piece of rock music with a kind of strong vocal that's got elements of opera in it. You might end up with something that is redolent of Bohemian Rhapsody. So I think it's very difficult to say a particular composer, the Beatles, or, I mean, my favorite pop songwriters are Jimmy Webb, probably, and I mean, the classic songwriters from the 70s, 60s, and 70s, really. And but an AI algorithm could probably analyze what affects you emotionally out of those things, and
mm.
then just give you something that we could say, write me a Jimmy Webb style song, complete with lyrics and top line melody, everything. And it would probably come up
Mm.
with something that's not dissimilar.
Well, that's kind of depressing. You're telling me that a machine,
Sorry.
a robot could actually match Paul McCartney. That's what you're telling me.
Um, in the style of, I mean, I don't think it would necessarily replicate how his voice sounds or the vocal arrangements, but and it won't happen tomorrow, but it will definitely, something like that will be coming down. I mean, if they can, replicate Marilyn Monroe acting and all the nuances of her acting style and appearance, then writing a song is relatively straightforward compared to that, I think. And the key thing is, does it engage us emotionally? Right, you can have functional music in a in a dance situation, because really that's not terribly complex a lot of the time. But I'm talking about classic songwriting. That's where the real challenge comes. I would like there to be, like they do those chess challenges for artificial intelligence, and they're getting so good they can beat most of the grandmasters now. Well, I think I'd like to see a blind test of AI designed stuff. Somebody gives a brief, and I'd
Yeah.
like to do a series of blind tests. And I don't think we're at the point where it would be where I couldn't identify it.
Okay. Well, let's hang on to the human bit while we can. Really good to talk to you,
Yeah.
Martin. Thank you.
Uh,
And
Thanks so much.
you realize you've been talking to a computer replication of me this entire time.
Yeah, I thought you looked a bit strange.
Yeah.